Are we all ready? Public is ready? All right, we'll give it a second. How many attending? 100? You say we the people, right? Wow. Two, okay. Good? 3, 4. All right. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Bogota Board of Education for January 17th, 2023 into order. Please stand for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Bogota Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bogota Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Bogota, and posted on the Bogota Board of Education website. Irfan, may you roll call, please?
Mrs. Alvarez, absent. Mr. Alvarez.
Present.
Mr. Chavez, absent. Mrs. Cruz.
Present.
Mr. Navar.
Present.
Mrs. Oliva.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega, absent. Ms. Rocket.
Present.
Mr. Miranda.
Present.
We have the quorum.
Thank you very much. For the record, Mrs. Alvarez had to attend to her educational duties. Mr. Chavez is out on business travel. And moving on to, let's open the floor to hear, sorry, also present are Mr. Irfan, EFSU Board Secretary and School Business Administrator, Superintendent Damian Kennedy, Board Attorney William Sukis, and Assistant Board Secretary Elizabeth Ruiz. I would like to get a motion to open the floor hearing of citizens.
Motion.
Mrs. Rocket and Alvarez second, correct? Thank you. Any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. If there's any member of the public who would like to address agenda items only, please speak your name and address. You have 5 minutes on agenda items only. Anyone in the public? Kennedy, anyone? May I have a motion to close hearing of citizens on agenda items only?
Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Navarro.
Navarro, thank you. Any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to section 3.1 of our agenda, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Kennedy?
Good evening. To begin, just a couple of scheduling things coming up. First of all, we have our winter concerts in the elementary and middle school coming up tomorrow night at Bixby at 6:30, Thursday night, 6:30 at the middle school, and then on Monday, 1/23, 6:30 at STEAM will be our winter concerts. Those will be in person. Also on 1/26, we've been running a ballroom basic program with our 5th graders and our 6th and 7th graders. That's where they've been, instructors have been coming in during the day and teaching our students how to dance. Dance is part of the curriculum. We don't really have a lot of it in the elementary, so this is one way to bring it to them. So we will be putting on a big exhibition of all the students and what they have learned during this time. So we will be sending out more information, but that will be on 1/26 at 10:30 in STEAM. Thursday night, Building and Grounds will be attending the council meeting with the architects and the engineers to go over our plans for the referendum. After that meeting, the next couple of weeks, we will be having a bunch of town hall meetings, school meetings, and just meetings with the public in general. They will be in person. We will also Zoom them out virtually, so everyone has a chance to attend. And just get the information out. The DOE has finally got our application. It's been sitting in Trenton for 6 months. They finally assigned someone to look at it. We're hoping to have numbers, exact numbers, so that we can give that to the public. And then finally today was our CUSAC visit. That's when the county superintendent, business administrator, and special service and education consultants come in and really, you know, they open up our hood and they look through everything. And I'm happy to say from all signs that we're hearing, we're gonna pass. You know, when we say we pass CUSAC, that might not be a big deal for some people, but since I've been in Bogota, the first time we passed was 3 years ago. This will be the second time that we pass when they come in the first time, and that's due to our test scores. The county soup today told me that with these COVID numbers from test scores, a lot of districts did not pass that normally pass. So it's something for us to be very proud of. But our governance as a board was 100%, everyone doing their filings, everyone doing their education part. So he said kudos to your board for getting everything done. Our financials were in tip-top shape. Our curriculum was, they said, excellent. So I'm very happy of where we are and moving forward, the direction that we're heading in. So that concludes my report, but also part of the superintendent's report, we're going to have the annual comprehensive financial report by Mr. Steve Wilcox is going to come up right here and just give a brief synopsis of where we are. There should be a microphone there too, just make sure it's on, please.
No drum roll?
Good evening, and thank you for having me tonight.
Steve, just for the new board members, and I apologize. Steve Wilcox is from the Wilcox firm, am I correct?
Wilcox and Company,
And company.
catchy name.
And he is our financial auditor for the district. For those that I know that might have been new to the board or new to the process, he's a very important figure in the entire Irfan clan. So please proceed.
Well, thank you, Frank. I appreciate all the platitudes. The check will clear next week. Good evening, everybody. And again, thank you for having me tonight. This was our first year doing the audit for the Bogota Board of Ed. And I'm very happy to tell the whole board, we met with the Finance Committee earlier this evening, that our report, when submitted, will have no findings. It is a clean audit. I will give credit and thanks to the administration and the business office. They do a tremendous job keeping the books straight, keeping the numbers correct. And just for you all to know, this doesn't happen that often. I've been in practice for 43 years, and I can only remember less than a handful of times that we're issuing an audit report where the management report has no findings. So I think collectively, you should pat yourselves all on the back, and they do a good job, very professional. And again, this was our first year, so when you come into a new client, you're starting from scratch. So we're going through all the systems, all the procedures in the business office, and doing all of our documentation. And again, we don't see this very often. And I'm happy to report to the board and to the public that that the June 30, 22 audit had no findings.
Very nice.
And there's not much more I can say. If any of the board members have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I think we should just send them home, right? We like what we
You
hear.
heard enough?
Well, thank you, Mrs. Wilcox. Appreciate the report. And thank you for taking the time and thoroughly going through the process. And we're really, we're really happy to hear what we've heard and kudos to Irfan and his team. And he's gonna say kudos to the superintendent, so we'll take that as well. But it's an entire Board of Education team that puts these kind of favorable practices in places to keep us financially healthy. And for the record, and for those who are listening, it's, I've learned that it's actually not quite common to be in such good place. And I was impressed to look at a draft and see nothing at all. So I was looking for something because there's always that stage that you want to continue to grow. So I guess from here is what do we do next, right, Irfan? So it'll get interesting. I really thank you. We know that you penny pinch. We know that you are a processing guru. And the public of Bogota should be very proud of the work you guys put together and how you lead your financial team. So we are really, as a president of this board, and I think by the nods of heads, we thank you and we just really are grateful to have you as a part of this district and the residents of Bogota. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you. And also, I would like to thanks to all dedicated staff we have, the team in the board office.
Thank you. That's good news. It's good news. Moving on to resolution 4.3, approval of minutes of December 6, 2022 of the regular meeting and closed session. Do you have a motion to approve resolution 4.3?
Motion.
Mrs. Rocket, do I have a second?
Cruz.
Cruz, thank you very much. Any board discussion? Mr. Irfan?
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Oliva,
Stop.
Wait,
Stop.
um,
He can't vote on, he wasn't on for it then.
No. you should abstain.
Abstain.
Yeah.
Mrs. Oliva,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 6.10, education portion of the agenda, resolution 6.10, improvement of agenda items 6.1 through 6.9. Do I have a motion to approve 6.10?
Motion.
Ms. Rocket, do I have a second? Alvarez, thank you very much. Any board discussion?
It's
Mr. Irfan, sorry?
probably good to point out that there was no 5.
Correct. Correct. Well, nothing. yeah.
Right, there was nothing under policy. which
Nothing
is
on
usually under
policy,
Number
this-
5, so that's why we had no 5.
Okay, Mr. Irfan?
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Oliva,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on the personnel portion of the agenda, resolution 7.13, approval of agenda item 7.1 through 7.12. Is there a motion to approve 7.13? Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Navarro.
Navarro, any board discussion? Mr. Irfan?
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Oliva,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to the finance portion of the agenda, resolution 8.1, approval of consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.8. Do I have a motion to approve 8.9? Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Second.
Rocket, any board discussion? Mr. Irfan?
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Oliva,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to the buildings and grounds section of the agenda, resolutions 9.1, approval of application for the use of school property. Do I have a motion to approve 9.1? Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Navarro, any board discussion? Roll call, Mr. Irfan.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Olivo,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to, this is the addendum portion of the agenda. On items 10.1, approval of elementary maternity leave teacher. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 8.1?
Motion.
I'm-
10.1.
I'm sorry, 10.1. Mrs. Rocket, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Navarro, any board discussion? Roll call, Mr. Irfan.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Olivo,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
11.1. Next is the committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
Well, Mrs. Chavez is absent. However, the Finance Committee did just meet, as we said earlier, with Mr. Wilcox to review the management portion of the 2022 audit.
Thank you very much, and we obviously came out with some really good news. Anyone else? I'll bring up that, just as a reminder, Building and Grounds, myself as president, Superintendent Kennedy, and the architectural firm will be on January 19th at the borough with the mayor and council, just basically presenting what our wants or what we think is ideal to present to the community for the referendum and the layouts that pertain to their property. In my case, I feel that all property is Bogota residents' property, but for those who may not have an understanding, there's borough property and Board of Education property, although it's a taxpayer's property. So we're looking to maybe try to enhance the conversation about crossover usage and future development. So for those committee members, myself, superintendent, so that you can either tune in or be there. Next on the agenda is old business, item 12.1. Is there any old business the board would like to discuss? Okay, Mr. Kennedy, just on the eyesight mobile opportunity, I understand it's not free of cost.
No, I did reach out to them. It is not free, but we can use like Title I money. We might be able to use some Title I money, obviously not this year because that's already been budgeted for. But it's like 5,000 per school for them to come. And after listening to them, it might be something that we look to maybe budget, because I could, for $5,000, get every high school and middle school student tested. And then if they need glasses, this company will provide them. So it might be something that we want to look at as providing a service to our students. And then in the elementaries, we might be able to use some Title I money because those two schools are designated. So it's not free, but it's something that we might want to look at as helping our students and community, providing them that service.
Mr. Kennedy, they also take insurance, right?
Yes.
Is this something we can provide our staff? Well, you know,
It was more for students because our
Okay.
staff had, I asked about staff, but this program was specific to students.
okay. Thank you for the update, Mr. Kennedy. Hopefully next year we can do some nice, awesome thing for our community. Next on the agenda is new business at 13.1. Is there any new business the board would like to discuss?
Yeah, I have a couple of things.
Yes, go ahead, Mrs. Cruz.
I just wanted to mention I'm on the environmental commission with the town. And there's a community garden here in Bogota. In case anyone didn't know, it's down on River Road near the railroad tracks. And there's some water barrels that the art department has in the past cleaned up and painted. And they're back at the high school now, and Mr. Kennedy had the idea of giving them to all the different art classes in the district. So each school will get a water barrel to clean up and repaint, and they'll be back in the garden, probably late spring. So that'll be fun to see what the kids come up with. Also, I wanted to congratulate the boys' basketball team. They played, I don't know, Coach Ozzie figured out some way, got them into the Barclays Center this weekend, and they played a game and they won. And then they all watched the Nets play later that afternoon. And it was just a really cool, fun experience for the kids. They had a great time. So it was nice. And hopefully it's something that he'll continue to do each year. That's it.
That must feel great, right? Get to play basketball in an official,
It was really, really
in
exciting.
an arena. Kennedy was great, but I think you never did that, right, Ken?
I never played in an official arena.
Kudos to our Bogota kids.
And they've had a tough season, so having their win at the Barclays Center was pretty cool.
My understanding, Mr. Kennedy was a superstar, right? Oh, okay. Just want to be a little braggadocious for our kids here in Bogota. Section 14.1, and thank you, Susan, thank you for
Yep.
bringing that up. It would be nice, just to kudos a little back, before I move on the community garden, is there any hours our high schoolers could get for community services where they can help that garden grow and plant, and maybe we can find, things to grow?
They can always do community service.
Usually, organization will reach out to us if they want that. I know some people are particular about their garden.
Yeah, I mean, you like rent a
Rent your own
plot,
space
so
out.
it's kind of your space.
Oh,
to
okay.
Do your own little garden, but
Interesting.
something to,
It could be worthwhile letting them know
Yeah.
that there are, that.
I know that,
There's a
the
bill
high
that comes
school-
on, right?
the high
yeah, because
school
there's
kids
other
should be
things that have to
available.
happen to sort of maintain the whole garden, so yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I'll
remember,
bring it up at the
I was a
next
part of
meeting.
it when the piping and everything was done. Good stuff. Section 14.1, hearing of the public. Is there a motion to move floor of hearing of the public?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Rocket, thank you very much. Is there any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any member of the public who would like to address the board? Speakers, please state your name and street address. You have 5 minutes to address the board. Anyone else? Do I have a motion to close citizen, hearing of the public? Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Second, Cruz.
Mrs. Cruz, thank you very much. Any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Thank you. We have no executive session today. Okay, well, can I have a mission to adjourn? I may have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Alvarez. Alvarez,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.